So now you can see we got our room sanded. We've got our dust-free system has been removed. We don't need that here anymore. It's all been cleaned up. So now we're gonna just prime this. And the idea of priming drywall is you need to use the right paint. It has to be a primer sealer. You can't just use anything. And you apply the primer sealer with a little bit of pressure. When we were painting ceilings, we want to go nice and gentle, but when we're painting primer, we want to push the paint right through the paper to get it the good bond. That helps it to seal up so that when we're doing our finish coats, it's not sucking all of that paint into the drywall. And so basically what you're doing is we want to paint about 1.5 inches away from the surface of the wall. We want to start with the ceiling, give it a nice liberal coat, push it in. This is not about having a thick coat. The primer's got a lot of solids in it, so a good primer is not wet. Okay, so if you bought a primer that's wet and is dripping all over you, take it back. You want to get something that's nice and thick, got a lot of solids in it. And at this point in the production, you don't need to worry too much about your ridges. That drywall is going to suck up any paint that hits it, and you cannot get a paint ridge. If you do, it doesn't matter because you're going to be sanding again anyway, in between your coats. So this is not the time to worry about that. This is the time to use some pressure. All right? When you're all done with the rolling, and you don't need to get an even coat here, as it dries, it'll be uneven, so don't worry about that. Once your ceiling is done, you can turn around and hit your wall. Same thing, leave room from the edges, because when we're all done with the rolling, we're gonna take our paintbrush out, and we're gonna come around, and we're gonna cut all of the joints. And that's all you need to know about priming. Get it wet, cover 100%. Don't cheat and leave the edges. I see a lot of guys do this. They'll prime the drywall and they won't paint and brush right in the corners. If you do that when you're doing your finished coats, you're gonna have a little shadow there. So don't cheat. Get it all covered, get it all sealed, and then you're gonna have a lot of success with your finished coat. So we're finally at that point in the project where things are gonna start happening really quickly. It's time to paint. We've done our sanding, our priming, our prime check. Now all we have to do is start working our way down from the top to the bottom of the room. So we're gonna start off with our ceilings. Very important. So many people do this wrong, and there's a lot to know to do a ceiling right. So I'm gonna go through all the steps with you. First of all, of course, is you have to go double check your prime check. Take your sanding block. Find those spots where you touched up earlier. Give them a quick little buff. Eliminate any of that extra mud. Change the texture of anything that you really had to lay in, like your corners. Again, open your sponge 5 degrees. Just make sure, I'm here worrying about a wall when I'm going to teach you how to paint a ceiling. But here we are. Get all of these areas here back up to perfect as best you can. Now we're good to go. Wow. Okay, so our spots are all taken care of. Now it's time to sand the ceiling. So once you've taken care of all your inside corners, very important, a lot of people miss this stage, but you need to sand between every layer of paint. A lot of times in the paint, there'll be dirt in the air that clings to the paint or little dry chunks from the pail from the process. You always want to sand first, get a nice smooth finish. So what we do, again, let's take our little Radius 360 sander here. Just a quick pass. You're not trying to change anything in the ceiling or sand out any spots, but you are making sure that your ceiling is nice and clean. So once your area is clean, now it's time to talk about your tools. What I use is a roller cage on ball bearing. This is really nice, does a great job. I like to use microfiber. Call me crazy, but I'll spend $6 or $7 on a good roller any day of the week if it's gonna get me the result that I want. This is a 13 mil. Depending on the area that you're painting, you might go with a little larger, but I found that with ceilings, you don't want to have too much of a nap because you end up leaving roller marks. So very key. Now your paint, this is from Dulux. It's a Glidden product called Ultra Hide. It's brilliant paint. There's zero acrylic in this. Awesome for ceilings. Doesn't leave any shine. Doesn't draw attention to any imperfections that we may have missed during our prime check. So what I do is when I buy this, I have it shaken at the store. It's been sitting here a couple of days now. We got to make sure that it's shook up. Just roll it on its side. Give it a good bit of a beating. Make sure that it's mixed thoroughly through. After about 10 or 15 minutes of this, you've done about 10 minutes too much. Holy cow. Now, this lid can come off. If you can cut the ends, peel the strip, and pull the whole pail open, I recommend not doing that because the more air that gets in here, the more dried chunks of paint you're gonna have. If you're gonna use all 5 gallons in the same day, then by all means. What I usually like to do is just pull the top off, pour it into my tray with my liner. There we go. That's about 3/4 of a gallon. When you're done pouring it out, clean off the lid, put the stopper back in. Okay, that'll help preserve your paint. Now, you're gonna wanna do 2 coats. But before you do your coats, you wanna do your cut-in. The way you cut is you fill the brush with paint by pushing it into the paint, filling the inside. You clean this off so there's no paint sitting on the outside of the brush. It's all inside the brush. Always paint from the inside. Okay, so we're doing ceilings, so we're gonna push it into the corner. I'm not gonna worry about getting a little bit of paint on the wall. As long as we don't have a ridge or too much excess there, we're fine. And what I'm doing is just trying to make sure that when I roll, I don't have to get the roller right up against the wall. We don't want to risk marking up our wall surface with the roller. And there we go. You can see that even though that paintbrush doesn't have any paint on the outside, it really covers a large area. Brilliant. Next, we're going to take our stick. Now these are designed to go together. This is a Sherlock system. It's got a little lock-on pin on it so that your cage doesn't untwist on your handle. So it gives you a lot of control. The old kind you twist in like a broomstick. You're rolling up and down a wall or something, they'll start to untwist on you. You lose a lot of control. This gives you great control. You want to extend the stick as far as you can go, and you want to load this roller up. It usually takes about 15 or 20 passes. Really get it going. Okay, now, this is where you have to stop and think. My windows are over here, light's coming across this way. So my second coat, I want to be rolling in the same direction as the sun. In case I leave any ridges in my paint, you don't want it to create a shadow. Okay, and when you paint with 2 coats of ceiling paint, you go the first coat opposite of the finish coat. So if my finish coat is going to go this way, my first coat has to come this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to just put it on. We're not going to worry about trying to stretch it out too much as we want to be concerned with not pushing too tightly up against the ceiling. You want to roll gently. Okay, you don't want to see the nap of that roller start to get all compressed, because that's when the edges start to flare out and you get these big lines. Now, you'll notice that while I'm painting, I'm trying my best to keep my hands beneath my heart. This is a long day at the office. If I'm holding my stick up here, I got to make my body work a lot harder to pump all that blood up to my arms. What's the old rule? If you have a sore leg or something, you elevate it. You want to get the blood out of it. Well, if my arms are above my heart, I'm not going to have any blood in my arms. I'm going to tire out way too quick. So that's just a little trick so you can make your day a little bit easier. Try to keep your hands as low as possible on your stick. There we go, nice and gentle. Again, we're not looking for a lot of square footage here. We're just looking for easy coverage. There we are. Very nice. Now you notice this is not a pure white. The client has asked for a Benjamin Moore color, and I'm more than happy to oblige. There we go. So there's our first coat on the ceiling. Now all we do is do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again till the whole ceiling is finished. Wait about 20 minutes or so, and then by the time I finish painting this room, I can come back and do the second coat right away. So when you're painting your ceilings in a basement, you're going to have bulkheads. You have 2 options. You can paint the bulkhead the same color as the ceiling and same texture, or you can make an accent stripe That's becoming a little bit passe. Most people want to have anything from the ceiling and the bulkhead up, all painted the ceiling. But the rules are the same. You can't cheat. You can't just bring the roller here and slap a lot of paint around. You got to cut and roll. So the way you cut is you fill the brush with paint on the inside, set your corner, and you just run it across like this, okay? This is how you would cut if you were using a color up against a finished ceiling too. Here we don't have to worry about it because we're also going to be cutting in the ceiling. Right? There we go. And the idea of this is we want to put enough paint on this surface that we get the color, but we don't have streaks. If you use too much paint with your brush, you'll have streaks, and that'll be there forever and it won't blend with your finished roll. Okay. All right, when it's time to paint your bulkheads, if your roller is full of paint like this, you're gonna have 10 times the amount of paint that you need, okay? So what I would suggest is you roll out a piece of the ceiling, dry off your roller a little bit, then you come back, all right? Cage down so you don't hit your ceiling, and then gently, not too much strength here, gently roll that out. And then when you're done, come back down and just hit your edge to make sure you don't have any drips. After you're done that, all you need to do is let it dry. Usually a couple hours is plenty. Give it a quick light sand again. Same process, different direction. Now you can paint like a pro. Well, here we are. We finally finished our series on all the things related to drywall. So glad you could join us. And for all of you who've endured all of these tapes and you're sitting here right now still watching, we just wanted to once again encourage you, please subscribe to the channel. We've got some awesome things in the mix coming up soon. We're gonna be doing some more flooring, some laminate, some custom bar work. We've also got more plumbing videos and more general how-to. And I'm really looking forward to a new deck project. We're gonna do a screened-in porch this spring. So you might not see that until the fall, but that's all right. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Like, and feel free to leave comments. I'd love to get your questions about your how-to projects at your place. I answer these things personally, and believe me, it takes some time, but I'm happy to do it. I want to hear what you have to say, so looking forward to seeing you again next time. If you're enjoying these videos, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, but most importantly, comment on the videos. By all means, there's a suggestion of video you'd like to see, let us know. We'd love to be in touch.